What's up, people? Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, because new metal isn't just music, it's a lifestyle. I'm your host, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TM. Tim, how's it going?
I've been better, but it's good
allergies
still.
are fucking you up, huh?
Yes.
Just drink more gin. It'll make it go away.
I'll be hitting the mute button a lot tonight so I can cough.
All right. And for this week's episode, we have very special guests. You've probably heard the band name. They're all over the place. We have Jett and AJ joining us from the band Purity. Gentlemen, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thanks for inviting.
So I guess we'll start off, Tim, with the obvious statement is that EP you guys just put out is fucking amazing.
Yes.
It's absolutely amazing.
Thanks, man.
Thank you a lot. We actually recorded that the month before, like, we were driving back to Vegas from the studio when the first case of COVID was announced in Las Vegas. So it was like right when that started, we had finished recording. And so we kind of sat on it for a long time. We were trying to figure out what to do with it. But it was just so interesting that literally driving back from the studio was right, like the first sign of it in Vegas. And then shortly after that, everything shut down.
We had a little homecoming show in Vegas, literally the day after we got back from the studio. Mm-hmm. And that was the last show
in Vegas.
We played, in Vegas essentially forever. There was like, I think one other show and then
was there?
Out.
Where'd you guys record?
We recorded in Tucson, Arizona with Ryan Bram at Home Wrecker. He did he does Gate Creeper, he does like Sex Prisoner, a bunch of really great stuff out of there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the EP sounds killer.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, he did a great job. And you bring up an interesting point, right? I'm sure a lot of bands were in that same boat, right? Where you recorded stuff, it's fresh, you want to get out, you want to play it, and yet you know that shit isn't happening for at least 9 months, right? Because when this first started, I was the eternal optimist, like, okay, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, and then here we are, 30 pounds, and like a year and a half later, I'm like, this is brutal. But I'm glad you guys didn't sit on it too long, because I do think I'm curious to hear what your opinion is, artists, right? There is kind of that high wire balancing act, right? Mm-hmm. Because you want to get stuff out. You kind of need to get stuff out to keep yourself in the ecosystem, right? Being talked about. But at the same time, you don't want to put something out and then not be able to tour on it, you know?
Yeah.
That's been the whole thought process for the last year.
Yeah, so
big stressor.
That was the big thing behind. Eventually, so it's funny because we had a tour booked for May with a band from Long Island called Silenus.
Oh, we're having those guys on in a couple of weeks. That EP is awesome too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Really great friends of ours. We had just done a tour. Our first East Coast tour ever was with them, 2019. And we had just booked another one that was going to be like half of the U.S. And
2018.
I think that's regardless. And that got canned, and we were like, well, what do we do? You know? And so they were talking about doing that music video that they did. And initially the plan was they were going to do that, and they were all going to come out and help us film what ended up being the Serpentine video. But they obviously couldn't. New York was, as you know, real strict about any kind of travel, so they couldn't. And we had tried to get a hold of Eric Easterday, the guy who ended up doing it, because I'd known of his work for a long time. He's a really nice guy, but he, before the pandemic, was often a touring photographer. Like he would go out with he went out with Burials a lot to be their touring photographer. So he was rarely available, and pandemic was deep underway, and we were like, hey man, if it's safe for you, it'd be super dope to kind of finally get something done with you. And that kind of kickstarted everything. We were like, okay, we confirmed that plan, and then we were like, let's start rolling stuff out. And that's kind of what birthed everything to now.
Awesome. Yeah, I can imagine, right? Like, and you know who my heart goes out to? I mean, not to say that my heart doesn't go out to you guys, right? But like bands like Code Orange, Black Dahlia Murder, right? They just dropped an album. They were just getting ready to go out, right? Like all the press was done, and then boom, nothing. Yeah. And I mean, I love the Black Dahlia Murder. I mean, people say, oh, they made the same album 6 times. I'm like, no, they made the same album 8 times. So that's fine.
I love all 6 albums.
I think they're all great. I think Trevor is one of the most hysterical frontmen, right? Like the dude's got heartburn tattooed on his chest. How can you not get into it? But like they were ready to go out with Testament. Code Orange had that massive tour booked. What was it? Year of the Knife, Jesus Piece, the band with the mandolin. What's that other band?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, Show Me the Light.
Yeah, there you go. And
They're a really great band.
Yeah, that great live show. But I mean,
oh yeah,
overnight, everybody kind of just stopped.
And it sucks too because that rec underneath was amazing. Like, our guitar player was like kind of on the fence about Code Orange, didn't really, have too much opinion either way. And that came out, and I was like, dude, just fucking listen to it. And he fucking shit a brick. He's like, this is actually awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Such a like big deal in heavy music. I was really excited about it. Everyone's really excited about it. So that one really was like a bummer to watch. Like, just have to stop almost. I mean, they landed on their feet. They did the whole, live stream
the
thing.
Sunny
They
show,
really ran with that. So they were able to pick up, I think, really well out of like a lot of people who were in the same situation.
Yeah, I think they were like the first like good live stream show when they did that show in the church.
Multi angles, right?
Yeah.
They had like multiple angles. Sunny from E56 was there, right? That was like the interludes where they flash the shit on the screen, right? Like they have a very unique aesthetic that they lean into it to a point where you're like, okay, I get it. It's a whole show, right? It's not just an album or it's not just a live act. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, which has been tricky because a lot of bands obviously want to do live streams and shit, and I get it. But like our guitar player has been like, yo, we should do it, and I'm like, you can, but I feel like almost like without that level of
our other guitar player.
Yeah. But like I feel like without that like something extra, it's almost at this point, this late in the game, it's just too saturated, So it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, there is such thing as first mover advantage, but at the same time, there's also that, like you said, the from our end, the customer burnout, right? Like, I mean, every time I did one, it was funny, and then Black Diamond, back to them, they did one, it was Christmas themed, like, so they had something to make it move, but to just like do a static, hey, we're playing. I mean, Sonny's doing it right now. He's got a live one right now with 856, and for hardcore bands, that makes sense. Right? Yeah. Like just 4 dudes in a room, just put up a camera, let's go crazy. But for bands that have like a little bit more of an aesthetic or like a production, I could get where it's like, it's got to be a kind of like a balancing act.
Yeah. And it's also like, as goofy as it is, we have a level of, I guess, like theatrics involved. So when we would try to do that live, it's cool because you can feed off the crowd and everything and kind of really get into it. And everyone's, in the same space. But doing it, I think, in a, like you said, a static just shot of a room, it's kind of hard to translate,
Yeah.
What do you guys? Where do you guys recording through? A laptop or talking through?
No, I have a webcam set up on my computer.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna ask if you're going through like a mic because something's going on with your audio, but it's fine. I'll mess with it. It sounds like you guys have a gate on, and then when somebody talks a little louder, it goes in.
We do have a gate on because I have a fan on, so let me turn the gate off.
Yeah. That's what happens when you get. See, this is why I have Tim. He's also tech support.
I'm like, did I have a gate on?
Noise gate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I knew that's what it was. It's all good though. I thought it was on my end, and I'm like, wait a minute, nope. But it's all good.
Jeff's really good at computer shit. I'm terrible. So
is that a little better?
That sounds perfect.
There you go. Yeah, Tim's always yelling at me. You need to he's the one who made me get the real mic, made me get the boom arm. He's like, dude, I can't see webcam. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
You guys sound great.
Yeah. I get it. I have an actual microphone, but I let somebody borrow it, so I'm sorry.
As is what happens with
a webcam mic today.
No. It sounds good. It was just the gate was coming on every other.
I appreciate you telling me though.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. After the fact, you're like, oh wow, I sounded like shit.
So let's talk influences for a second. I mean, the safe assumption is you named the band off the Slipknot song, right? That's the safe assumption. What else? What else influences you guys' musical leanings?
BOD.
Okay.
It's interesting because Jett and I write a lot of the music, but we both have pretty vastly different influences as far as that goes. So sometimes I'm not really good at guitar or bass or anything. I can play bass well enough to play songs and shit, so I'll write a lot of stuff on there. I'll sit with him and he'll kind of like digest it and do it his way. But like he said, he's more on the like, I guess more metalcore, metal side of things.
I've always been death metal and like old school and shit like that, and like a handful of goth bands, new metal bands and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot, like, I don't know. I feel like I bring a lot of riffs that maybe he wouldn't exactly think of off the top of his head, and then he'll bring a lot of riffs that I wouldn't think of off the top of my head because I've never been like a super huge nu metal fan.
Okay.
A handful of bands that I love, and then like not too much deep cut shit.
Yeah. So It's interesting because pretty much everyone else in our band has a little bit more of a history with it, but that's kind of why I like working with Jett, is because he's able to add that something else that I wouldn't have. You know what I mean? Because I feel like if it were entirely in my hands, it might come out sounding a little too, I guess, generic, for lack of a better term. But points aside, I would say along with those, like Ministry, I love
Skinny Puppy.
Yeah, like for me, it's like bands like Orgy and Static X, and like, you know, I really like a lot of the stuff that I haven't been able to incorporate as far as like the more, I guess, like Primer 55, you know, Limp Bizkit, like the more like groovy stuff is what we try to lean into a little bit more on this record.
Yeah. Groovy stuff, and then I feel like a lot of the electronics we did, like a lot of Godflesh influence, Frontline Assembly.
Yeah.
A lot of Ministry. We were gonna have a Ministry cover.
Yeah.
And
I think
what song?
Yeah, that was gonna be my first question. What song?
I was thinking Just One Fix because that's one of the best riffs ever written.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But The Prodigy, obviously, if you've
Yep.
Prodigy is one of my all-time favorite just musical outlets, just because as a kid I remember hearing it, you know, and like even like as a kid into nu metal and stuff, I like a lot of stuff my friends were like, I don't know, you know, like, you know, just like techno and stuff like that. So hearing all of it kind of put together in a way that wasn't only like, oh, that works. It's like, oh, that worked, and it's cool, and Keith's so fucking psycho, and the visuals are insane, and like everything's kind of blended so one of a kind that I really wanted. And when Keith passed, I really wanted to do something about it. I wanted to do Firestarter, but I felt like it would be maybe a little bit out of our hands to be able to accomplish realistically. And I always loved Breathe, so we just went with that.
That album is perfect. Like there is not one bad song on that album. I always get a kick out of the factoid that they were the last platinum deemed like I forget how many millions of records sold band in the 20th century, right? Because when it tipped over to the year 2000, they were the top selling artists. And I'm like, that's kind of wild to think about, right? I mean, and you look at, like you said, that visually, right? Breathe, Firestarter, Smack My Bitch Up. I mean, they truly are in a land of their own. And I thought that last album was really good. Was Invaders? Was that the last one?
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. It's crazy because like they were an enormous name, an enormous band when that record came out, and then just like disappeared. And it's frustrating because you'll see people be like, oh, they're like one hit wonders or whatever. And I'm like, dude, their discography is really worth listening to. There's so much like diversity and like creativity throughout their career that just doesn't get looked at. So it's nice to hear someone else appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of those bands that never got, for whatever reason, never broke here. Right. Yeah. They were one of those bands where they're huge in the UK. They're huge in Europe. They have a very voracious fan base. And yet here they never kind of took off. I mean, the comparison I would make to an American band that does well overseas, something like a Dog Eat Dog, or even, let's be honest here, even like a Sick of It All. Like those two bands are huge in Europe. But here they're like, yeah, it's Dog Eat Dog isms. Or, yeah, it's, Sick of It All, scratch the surface. They don't get nearly the respect and the cachet that they get overseas, which is kind of odd. Did you, speaking of Prodigy, there was the I forget the name of Tim. I've said this to you like 6,000 times and I always forget the name. There was a documentary about the DJ who tried to break electronica in the States. He did it. It was, I forget the name of it. It was like through the Red Bull channel. The same guy who broke grunge, who broke Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana, was the same guy who was trying to break the Prodigy, the Sneaker Pimps, all that sort of stuff. He just had an ear for it. I forget what it was. I'll look it up.
Was it Steve Albini, wasn't it?
No, it was some random DJ from the Pacific Northwest.
I was going to say, wasn't it Seattle?
Yeah, he just had an ear for it. And then he ended up, he admits in the documentary, he had some substance abuse issues when MTV was trying to pick him up to bring him in because obviously he could obviously tell when trends were coming, and it just kind of kind of fell by the side. But yeah, I gotta look that up again. It's a really interesting story. The same guy who broke grunge was going to turn around and break the Chemical Brothers. It's kind of like
that's
those
awesome.
two things
That's
are
sick.
not even remotely close to each
I
other.
fuck with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Before I forget, since you have the ministry shirt on, what do you guys think of Filth Pig? Since I'm the only one that's
love
seen, it
Filth
seems
Pig.
like I'm the only one that likes that record.
Dude, I love Filth Pig. One time, this dude was like trying to sell me a Psalm 69 shirt, which I ended up not buying, and I bought a Filth Pig shirt instead that I gave to an ex. But it was sick. I love
Great
it.
record, man.
It's not the only
Okay.
one that likes it, Tim. It's just I was expecting, I was a kid. I was expecting Psalm 69 too. That's what I was expecting. And
It's always overshadowed.
yeah. And the electronics level gets dropped down. He goes way more into a groove. I mean, I think The Fall is the best song they've ever written, hands down. But there's some great tracks on that album. I think the closest thing he's come to Psalm 69 Part 2 was Surgical Meth Machine, that side project he did. I think that's the closest thing to Psalm 69 he's ever done.
I'm gonna hear
It's
that
pretty,
again.
Yeah, it's very visceral.
Yeah.
I
Shout out
just
Lard too. I'm a big Lard head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
just
I
like-
like Lard's first record more than Filth Pig.
Was that the Last Temptation to Read?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we just did a ministry. You guys probably saw it. We did a ministry deep dive with Chris Bollinger from Machine Man, and we were joking that we should probably do another episode where we just deep dive on the side projects. And I said to him,
Oh yeah.
"Man, that's going to be like a 6-hour episode." Al literally touches everything.
Oh yeah. He's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Not a person at all, but I love it.
He's I can't believe he's like Keith Richards, right? You can't believe the guy's still alive. And
Yeah.
He's undefeatable. He will never die. He will outlive us all.
He's a cockroach.
He's like a
dude.
I was gonna say he's like a roach.
Yeah. He's got the ugliest guitar out of anybody that was ever allowed to get a signature guitar too.
oh, that thing is hideous. Ugh. Ugh.
I'm gonna Google that right now. Hold on.
Damn, it's ugly.
Dude, it is
I respect anyone who does.
not a flattering choice of guitar. Tim and I have also talked about this all the time. His book that he wrote, if you guys haven't read it, it is wild.
I saw a copy once in a Barnes and Noble a long time ago, and every time I went since, I never found it again. So I finally just ordered it online. I haven't read it yet, but I bought it.
AJ,
God,
it
this
is
is terrible.
Yeah,
I already hate flying V's, but then you add in the other point. Now I hate it even more.
dude. I'm a big fan of stupid pointy guitars, and that is not one I'm on.
Oh man, that's brutal, dude.
Yeah, the book is an amazing read, and like when they talk about how they spent, what was it? How much was it, Tim? Was it like $750,000 just to do Jesus Built My Hot Rod? And they kept the drugs in a separate room, so if the police came, they could say it wasn't theirs. And the whole story between like Gibby Haynes was whacked out of his mind on the floor, and Al was kicking him to get him to sing. Like, it's AJ, you're gonna read this, there's times you're gonna stop and you're gonna start laughing because you're gonna be like, there's no way, there's no way.
Dude, I just read, like, I cracked it and I read like the beginning has like those quotes of people who met him. Like Jonathan Davis is like, oh, I met him and he had a needle in his arm when he shook my hand. And just like everyone's crazy anecdotes, and I was like, God damn, I can't wait to read this.
Yeah.
But and then like.
Yeah,
I sat in my truck at work and read like 2 hours worth of it because I just couldn't put it down. And I'm like, maybe I should get back to work. But it's dude, it's so good, man. And Jay's right. You will just like put the book down and be like, what the fuck did I just read?
That's awesome. Love it.
Guy is amazing. So you mentioned Silenus. So this is another question. What other bands are you guys hip to? Like, what should Tim and I be listening to that we might not be listening to? Some of the younger bands, some of the stuff in your kind of orbit. What are we not hearing that we should be hearing?
It's kind of hard to say because a lot of bands are just also sitting. But a lot of our friends make music like shit, I don't know. Wow.
I mean,
I'm trying to think of bands that like us and our members aren't in.
Yeah.
'Cause there's just, we all do so many.
Is anyone in Wrist Meat Razor?
No.
Okay. They're a
Prior
Vegas band, right?
Prior members.
Okay, makes sense. There you go.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone else out in Vegas right now. Like
December is always the first band I think of. Is December.
We haven't had a lot of stuff come out of here since like Curl Up and Die.
Curl Up and Die.
Oh yeah, love
Wholesome.
Yeah, and like
Faded Gray.
Yeah,
those are.
We'll have a group of bands, but they never, for some reason, seem to get out of Vegas. You know, I don't know what it is.
There were a handful of bands in Vegas before the pandemic started, and a lot of them have either fizzled or just stopped doing stuff. But
okay, so sorry, I finally brain broke through. Cast and Blood, Section Hate, what like Vane, obviously.
Oh, Vane's amazing.
Yeah.
Stabbed.
Oh, dude, I love
Stabbed and Mourn.
Gonna write that one down.
Our friends.
Stabbed is
in
death metal band from New York. So Mourn is from Massachusetts.
Mourn is awesome. That shit is heavy.
Really, really good dudes too.
They're both on Maggot Stomp.
Big fans of Maggot Stomp in general.
Yeah.
Vomit Forth.
Oh
our guitar player sings for Vomit Forth.
What'd you say?
Our other guitar player sings for Vomit Forth.
Does he?
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh. I was supposed to have him on and he just like didn't do it. And I was like, God damn it, I really wanted to talk to him.
That's Kane. That's just how he
is. Doesn't he do like other projects? Like what's something else? Seven something?
So him and I are in another band called Eyeball.
Okay.
It's just like a rock band. He also does a black metal band called Unholy Vampiric Slaughter Sect.
Oh, I gotta check that out.
That's a mouthful.
They're really cool. He has
an insane following.
Yeah, and it's black metal dudes, you know. And then he was doing Seven Candy Stars.
That's it. There you go.
He did. He does everything. Any type of genre you can think of, he's done it. So
yeah,
he's that guy, you know.
That Vomit Force stuff is so fucking good.
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
Oh, I love them. It makes me frustrated that he can do that with his voice. So I'm like, how? I tell him all the time, dude, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're fucking sick, man.
An eyeball, and I'm like, dude, I'm struggling to keep it together in one band, and you're just
how you guys do. I mean, so one of the other things Tim and I have joked about is I guess maybe it's the internet, right? Or maybe it's the pervasiveness of the ability to get your stuff out there quickly. But it seems like everybody does multiple projects. Where if you think of like 70s, 80s, even the early 90s, you had one band and that was it. And whether it succeeded or failed, was sucks or great, that was what you did. Where now everybody's like, well, yeah, like we talked to Jordan from Zone Zero, and it seems like every 15 minutes he's got something else he's working on. It's like, dude, I can't keep up, and they're all good, which is the other thing. I mean, I understand the creative side. Like you can't do hardcore and death metal all the time. I need to have an out. I need to change my brain, you know. But now it's just everybody is doing so many different things, and it is like from the fan perspective, it's like shit. This is tough keeping up.
I mean, for a long time, I was only doing Purity. Jets and like 4 other bands. I was only doing Purity for the longest time, and then when Eyeball started, that was the first time in a long time that I did anything else.
Yeah, it was weird because he lived in Texas for a while, and I was up here in Vegas, and I started a band a few years ago with called World Tension. It's like a thrash metal band crossover. Okay. And then I played another band called Close Combat. It's like a grind power violence band.
I love Close Combat.
And then another band called Oversight. It's like chromatic shit.
I was gonna say, is that like a straight edge hardcore band?
Nah, it's just like Chromag's Killing Time shit.
Okay.
Purity was straight edge when it started.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Purity is at its heart a straight edge band.
I've said this on previous shows. I love that sound. Like if you know a band is a straight edge band, you can kind of guess to within like a 70% confidence vote. This is how it's going to sound, and I'm probably going to like it because it shares a lot of genetics with like the tough guy mosh short genre, like which I'm a big fan of, right?
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of throwdown. In subconsciously in the last record.
The one before this one, yeah.
Okay.
And but yeah, we were initially that at one point, ironically.
So, yeah. Finding a whole lineup who likes new metal and is straight edge.
Yeah. that was the thing for me when we started it. I was like, man, you know, when I was a kid, 18 Visions being straight edge was so crazy because they were not like your straight edge band, you know?
Right.
And I was like, man, that's fucking sick, you know, like they were doing weird shit. I like doing weird shit. That would be crazy to have another band that was like straight edge that wasn't making like straight edge music. As much as I love it, I just wanted to do that. And then, you know, switch out members to like actually be able to make the music you want to make. And that becomes more prevalent. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, because the Lifeless EP and Until Their Ink runs out, it's just wild, fucking way ahead of its time stuff, man.
Oh yeah, insane. And even just like to go from that all the way through to like Obsession and have like this weird radio rock and still be a straight edge band, like it's just crazy, you know? It's a really cool thing to have under your belt.
Yeah, especially like a band like Avenged Sevenfold. Like, aren't they a straight edge band as well?
I don't think so.
But
okay,
maybe they started, maybe, but
yeah,
when they made the turn
that way.
when they made the turn towards radio and towards big rock, I mean,
yeah, because when you're the metalcore Guns N' Roses, I mean, it's got to be hard to be out on the road. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because I know it'd be, you know, being on the road like that.
Line of Coke on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's
funny. It's funny because I always used to say they're like the metalcore Guns N' Roses, and people are like, "You're fucking nuts!" Like, dude,
that's 100%. That's 100%.
So right.
Yeah. Especially like the third record and on, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
dude, they even embrace. They're wearing shit Slash would wear. You know, like.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Thing.
Well,
and then you're ripping off Metallica riffs. You know what I mean?
Dude, some dude was playing the radio in our shop the other day, and I heard it, and I was like, "Is this Metallica, dude?" And Jett started laughing. I was like, "What?" And he's like, "This is Avenged Sevenfold." I was like, "What the fuck, man?"
And they got away with it.
I mean, they not only got away with it, they opened for them. You know, that's like that would be like, you know, Slipknot taking out a Slipknot cover band. What's that famous one from North Jersey? Eyeless, I think. That's like taking out a cover band as your opener. It's kind of baller, but at the same time, it's like,
here, you play all the shit we don't want to play anymore.
Yeah. Play all the load B-sides.
Yeah.
What did she have me thinking of? You're talking about Avenged Sevenfold and straight edge bands, and oh shit, I lost the question.
Oh, all good. So I do want to go into the new EP and the opening track, man. I swear to God, like on my last FM, like the Scrabbles on there were like probably like 4,700 because I listened to the thing so many times. One of the catchiest fucking choruses, man. So that song has I forget his name, but he's from Silenus.
John, yeah.
Is he the one doing that part?
No, he does. There's like a bridge before the, I guess, breakdown.
The fast part. The one part of the whole EP where there's like a
blast beat.
Part, that's what he does. Yeah.
Oh, the blast beat part.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Dude, super catchy song. Like I just kept putting it on, and I'm like, dude, because I'm like sitting there listening to it. I'm like, yo, like I remember loving the EP before this, but yo, this opener is fucking amazing, man. Like, just blew my mind. And I was talking to Jay, like, we got to get them on because just that song right there, I was just like, dude, like one of the best things I've heard this year so far. Still,
yep.
Thanks so much, man.
We're really proud of that one.
Yeah, great track, man. And then I remember Jay sent me the Serpentine one, and I was shoveling snow, and I'm like so pissed off, and I'm like, I'll listen to it later. And I had my headphones on, and I put it on. And I was just like, holy fuck, man! Like, so like, and then I was gonna say too, but Jay already said it. I was like, I want to ask like too, like, is the new metal influence there? But obviously it is. So.
Oh yeah, that song was very much just the angry shit that I liked when I was a kid. You know.
Yeah.
Like hearing like. Obviously, there's a Slipknot degree to it because anytime you're doing fast and angry and new, that they kind of covered that. But for me, there was a lot of like American Head Charge and shit like that. Where, to me, I think that Art of War is just as angry of a record as Iowa almost. You know, like there's some fucking ragers on that thing, and it kind of gets overlooked. You know, and so there's just a lot of that. And then I think Jett added some shit because. Initially, it was just a thing that I had kind of put together. I was like, I really like these riffs. and Jett added a lot to it that kind of rounded it out.
We wrote a lot of that song years ago.
We wrote that before we put out Failure with My Mouth's Ready to Rust on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
And it just didn't fit that record.
Oh, okay.
And there were some different parts and shit, but yeah, I think when we reworked it and made it into its own song again, and then went in the studio and like added all the samples and all the electronics and all the keys and all that stuff.
Really came full circle.
Yeah, I think it was worth like keeping in the pot for a while.
And I know Jay said that the band name came from the track Purity, right?
Sorta.
Sure. Okay.
We were in another band, and there was just a lot of button heads in it and shit. And we were doing like hardcore music and a little bit of metalcore stuff. I liked it. It was good. It was just like I had this idea. I wanted to do more like new stuff, and we did like a kind of new metal song in the old band and stuff. I was like, "Yeah, let's run with this." And so Jett was like, we were on tour, and it was me, Jett, and our old drummer, and we were like, let's fucking like put it together. And it would just be like our own thing, and like we could call it Purity, and it'll have a bunch of meanings because we're straight edge, and like it'll be just our vision without any like, like, but we can do this for this crowd, or we can do that for that crowd, or
just pure.
It was just exactly what we wanted to do. And obviously that song is a heater, so we were like, dude, if anyone asks us, we can say whatever, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It was cool. It just came together that way.
That was my first thing. I was like, all right, Purity, straight edge. So I kind of figured that's what it meant too. But then I was reading articles or interviews you guys did, and people were always alluding to that. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, that.
We're just like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
like I remember being in like high school and like fucking, sitting around the old ass computer, and you telling me the story about the fucking the girl in the box, and it's a true story, and they had to take it off the record and like all this shit. So like, I mean, it was impactful from when I was a kid. So I was like, yeah, Purity, let's fucking do it.
It's a great name though.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You brought up AJ. You brought up American Head Charge, and I think the reason why, when people think of the more heavy extreme end of nu metal, right, they think of Slipknot, because let's be honest here, when that came out, that was nu metal at its high watermark. They literally blasted the doors off everybody else, it was like, well, shit, this is where things are going to go. And I believe Chocolate Starfish came out after that. It came out after Iowa.
Yeah.
But at that point, like, Limp Bizkit was getting a little long in the tooth. And then Wes leaves. But like, if you think of like American Head Charge, think about Down the Sun, think about Dry Kill Logic. There were some heavy nu metal bands that came out right on the heels of that maybe kind of got overlooked the first time, because
even like speaking of VOD, like Blood Simple and shit too.
Yeah.
And like it did. It's because I know exactly why. Because when you listen to Iowa, in my opinion, in any genre, no band has been able to meet that raw just rage. Like, you can feel it, dude. Like, it gets your blood pumping because there's just so much like hate in that record, and it's so visceral and like real. And I've never heard a band like match that. So where if I were to listen to almost any song in Iowa and then go off and listen to Seamless by Head Charge, you notice the difference. Like, this is still pissed off, it's still angry, but it's not that raw, So it's a blessing and a curse for the genre, because it's like, we got this crazy record, but nothing can really touch that.
It literally put itself up on a pedestal and said, come at the king, but you're not going to get close. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They were never able to reach that ever again,
No, they made the radio turn, which, by the way, Tim and I were going to do a deep dive eventually on volume 3. I listened to that like 6 or 7 dozen times, and I'm like,
it's
not
harsh.
Not my thing. And
Funny,
but I mean, you could tell.
Being like, yeah, I guess. And then now I'm like,
yeah. But AJ, you bring up an interesting point where you talk about how that rage is something that you can just feel it, right? Like, Jett mentioned VOD, right? When you put an imprint, you can tell that was a band firing on all 5 cylinders. They recorded that 13 days. Everything was tracked live. And it's just a fucking monster. Like, the fact that you hear Tim inhaling between every line in what you are, it's like it makes it even more angry. And again, they kind of, I honestly think they would have been bigger, but they were the odd man out because they were doing stuff so different. It was just different enough that you paid attention to it, but it wasn't enough that like the general population got on with it.
And that was another one of those things where they had the unfortunate situation of kind of being, I don't know if this is just me, but I always see them compared to bands like Life of Agony, always Type O Negative. And I'm like, yeah, those bands are great. And obviously I love those bands. VOD was kind of too different to be compared to them.
Just because they were around at the same time doesn't mean
similar circles and everything. But like that was also a blessing and a curse because like people who like Type O, people who like Type O are gonna be like, okay, what's vision of disorder? But then, so they get that recognition, but there's not that like level of, oh, I get it. I get what vision of disorder is doing. You know what I mean? So they kind of got their shaft on that.
Yeah. And the interview that Ryan Rainbow does where he has Jeremy Beaumont and he has Mike Kennedy, and they talked about the self-titled where he's like, you know, to your point, VOD gets lumped in with Life of Agony, Type O Negative, Biohazard, Glassjaw, all the bands from that area, Candiria. And yet those 5 bands that I just rattled off all sound completely different from one another. Completely different.
Yep. What was so cool about that scene and that movement?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, is like they all have their roots in hardcore, but they all did something that to this day has such a thumbprint.
Yeah. I there will never be another Type O Negative. Not to mention his voice, but the song craftsmanship, right? Like, I mean, I remember when I saw them touring off of October Rust, and they have all this fake snow coming out of the snow machine. And Pete Steele, as he's drinking an entire bottle of red wine, he goes, we really want to thank Roadrunner Records for being behind us with this album. And most importantly, paying for all this cocaine that we're now throwing all over the stage. So snort some and have a good evening. And then they went into like a Cinnamon Girl or whatever. But like he was so unique. And you can't replace that.
No. Stuff like that nowadays is like a lot of the younger kids are getting into shit like that and they want to recreate it without, you know what I mean? Without their own identity to it. So it just, you can instantly see through stuff like that. So the thing is, in that time, especially people like Peter Steele, people like Corey Taylor, like Marilyn Manson, like all these people were just so uniquely themselves that's what made them the people you remember. And like I think people now trying to, I guess, emulate that aren't getting is the reason that you want to be them is because they were being themselves.
Right. Tim and I talk about it. They were all there's the idea of the same but different. They were all different but the same.
Yeah.
And with new metal, I think tipped over in like 2003, 2004, where record labels started signing not different but the same, but the same but different. Everybody kind of sounded the same. They were just they were a little bit aggressive, or maybe they screamed a little during the choruses, and that kind of, like you said, your lizard brain picks up on it before your ears do, right? You can see right through it.
Right. Yeah. I'm guilty of still enjoying some of those.
Oh yeah. Not for nothing. Yeah.
It definitely was. It's the thing. Once a machine gets hold of it, it's dead. You know. Like new metal was so cool to me because you can say I like new metal and that encompasses so much. Obviously it's the butt of a joke a lot of the time, but like you have bands like Slipknot who are super aggressive. You have bands like Static X who kind of tilt into that, but they're doing like a electronic thing. You have bands like Korn who do their completely own thing, a lot of funk and hip hop into it. You know, like there's so many different areas you can go that still fall under the umbrella of new metal. That for me is what made it so interesting. So when labels in the mid 2000s were like, okay, we need a catchy chorus, a rapper on a verse, and maybe some shouting in it, and make it 3 minutes, and make the video have a lot of eyeliner, and you guys are good. You know?
There needs to be a dude with dreads, a dude with a wife beater.
Yeah, I was just gonna
somebody
say
else with big jeans, and it's like you're right. It becomes a parody of itself. And even the fans just know. Right? You can just tell. I heard a quote by Jeremy Bohm from Touche Amore where he said, he was talking about hardcore bands. He said, hardcore bands eventually all reach a tipping point. where you go one of two ways. You either lean into the new metal and you start playing giant stadiums and sheds and you get that large scale recognition. He goes, or you go the other way and you lean more into hardcore and your roots and you start forming a more of a niche type fandom where you are what you are and you're never gonna be headlining Madison Square Garden, but you're gonna consistently draw. And I thought that was a really insightful and probably true way to think about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is like when either one is done with the intent of this is what I want to make, it works.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But if one is made in either direction where it's just like, well, I think this is what people want, you can always tell, you know? Like you can tell what bands are still playing hardcore songs because they love hardcore, they love the scene, they love doing what they do, they love the community and the history and all that shit. And you can feel it. And that's what makes it sick that they are still playing, you know, a small venue where you can go right up on the stage with them. And then when someone does make that crossover, I'll use Code Orange for the obvious example, where they're like, you know what, we're going to do more of a commercial thing, but there's so much involved in it that you can tell that's, again, something like I'm going to do it because I love all kinds of weird shit and I want to be able to mix it with the hardcore that I do love. That makes it, again, you can I can tell you mean it and you care about it, and that's instantly something that I can gravitate to.
It's more growth than commercialism, right? Like even like they have Reba sings on 3 songs this album as opposed to 1 in the last album. All those songs work.
Yeah.
They work and they sound great. And it's like, okay, well, they're probably a bad example for us because they consistently create their own lane. Like they take all their influences and are like, we're going to go this way. And you're either coming on the ride with us or you're going to be left behind. And that's pretty impressive to be able to reach that level where you can just do that and say, fuck it. We're going to take 9 Inch Nails. We're going to take Hatebreed and we're going to take Ministry. We're going to throw it all in a blender. And here's where you come out of it.
Yeah. And the coolest part about it is that they care so much about being a Pennsylvania band. If you pay attention, there's still so much like Pittsburgh beatdown in their music. There's still so much like Pennsylvania core in this weird new metal, industrial, you know, rock band. And that's what I'm like, that's fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
I think the Reba songs are my favorite ones they do.
Dude, they're so good.
Yeah. She's got a voice. She's got a voice.
Does.
So, you know, speaking of beatdown, I'm always amazed that it's one of my favorite genres. Like, give me the first 2 Bury Your Dead albums on repeat. I would take that to a desert island. I would just, you know, floor punch my way around the island myself until I eventually dropped dead, and I would never complain. But but it's one of those things where it seems simple on the surface, but you can tell when it's done well, and you can also tell when it is just done horribly, and you're like, oh my God.
And you could tell what the members of the band know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
By the release.
Yeah. Yeah. Where their influences are, how much. Yeah.
Definitely.
Anything that's like any type of music that is like more indulgent like that is so easy to just make into an awful parody of a band.
You can tell when it's new kids that don't know who Bulldoze is, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever listen to Earth Mover? No. Okay. Haven't heard Train of Thought yet or any of that. Yeah.
It's so I wanted to ask about this because I read and just before I forget, because I didn't write it down but I had it in my head. I read it. I think AJ, you did some kind of interview. It wasn't an audio one, it was just written, but you were talking about in the new record, like you were kind of like not pissed off but like upset about like all the validation and like the clout stuff in hardcore.
Oh yeah.
And like the Serpentine song was kind of like you talking about that. Is that kind of what you were saying? I forgot to write it down, so if I sound like an asshole, don't mind.
No, that's pretty much it. Like Serpentine is multifaceted in that overall, if you can look at it in that way, I did mean it that way.
Okay.
Where there's so many people that make music in hardcore because they want the retweets and they want the cool guy to look at them and they want, you know, that type of attention, and they don't fucking care about hardcore music, and they don't care about the people in hardcore. Like,
and they're the first ones to call you out. Yeah, they're the first ones to call you out. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and they're worried about the wrong people in hardcore. When you play hardcore music with people who come out and fucking hang out and want to mosh I want to fucking talk to you about their favorite hardcore record, and like that type of shit is what you play hardcore for.
Yeah.
And so many people miss that now. And not even just hardcore, like metalcore and stuff. Like for me, I love metalcore. It was cool to see good metalcore come back and be a part of hardcore again, you know? And then that became a money machine too. And so people were like, oh, well, we can get on so-and-so label and do this tour with so-and-so and that. And like, it's just so disingenuous. And so that coupled with the last couple years, a lot of shit happened personally with people similar to that, where like maybe we were friends in the scene or something and it turned out to be real shady and, you know, stars or whatever. And so I just kind of put it all together and I was like, man, you know what? Like, I don't usually write angry music, but the song was just so angry and like, you know, fast and had that tone to it already. And I was like, let's just fucking turn it up all the way, you know?
Yeah, because that's the one thing that I cannot stand in hardcore is just the clout and the fucking better than you. And it's kind of like the dudes who like always say like, oh, everybody's welcome, but then it's really not. It's only who's in my crowd that's welcome. And it just looks fucking ridiculous. And then that's why a lot of people like shit on me, because they're like, oh, you have a hardcore podcast, but you don't really like support the scene. I'm like, oh, really? So me doing 300 interviews doesn't support the scene? Okay.
Yeah. Like, sure. You can say that because you're on Twitter and maybe you retweeted a band that has 1 million followers. Who fucking cares?
It's
like
all
social
right,
media is such a fucking, I know this has been talked to death, but it's such a blessing and a curse that, you know, I can put my video out and everyone in the world can see it. But at the same time, it's entitled all these people to be like, oh, this is cool. That's not cool. This guy's cool. Whatever, you know?
Yeah. It's just funny because I've had dudes tell me like, oh, I don't see you at shows. Like, you don't support hardcore. I was like, oh, okay.
Motherfucker, I'm doing a podcast. You think this is easy, right? To turn this shit into a finished product? Yeah.
This is basically me doing a show for you. You know what I mean?
You know?
That shit, it's just, when I read that, I was like, it's like great that someone else sees that kind of shit because it just pisses me off.
Yeah. And it's hard because like being in a band, there's a certain level of politicking that you have to do. And that's just so not me. It's not who we've been. So we try really hard to be graceful and be respectful to everyone. But it's hard when you see so many people who are not like respectful to anyone do stupid shit and just get
away with it, get lauded for it.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
So that song was just kind of a big like, fuck all you guys, you know.
Yep.
And it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about a lot. Is just like I will always respect someone doing something what they want to do because they had a vision for it, because they believe in it, because they care about it. Even if it's something I don't like, I'll support somebody doing what they fucking care about. And if I can tell and hear that there's like, oh, there's work put into this, there's thought put into this, there's like emotion or whatever, like I can tell, you know, and I'll always vouch for that over someone who got a bunch of cool friends together and put out a tape. They're like, oh, dude, Twitter kids will eat this up. Let's just make this, you know?
Yeah. It's you're catering to the lowest common denominator. And there's an illegitimacy that comes with that. It's the internet is just the worst. It's the best. And as an adult, you can say that the internet is equally amazing and terrifying, right? Yeah. Like, look at all this great porn I can find, but look at all these assholes with opinions. You know, it's just like,
It's kind of like the people who'll email me and be like, yo, you haven't played my band yet. And I'm like, should I? Should I have done that already? Like, what the fuck, man? Sorry.
A lot of entitled ass people on the
internet. Dude, it's fucking and it's kind of like, because shit, I was going to shows in '97, and the hardcore scene back then was way different than it is now. Nowadays, it's like, dude, where is like the passion anymore? It's just not there.
No, I mean, it is, but you have to look, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you gotta look. You got to look to find it. You're not just going to stumble into a show. You may stumble into one of those Twitter shows.
Yeah.
Where it's like everybody's vibing and caping up for, you know, the likes. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of disingenuous. Not really my thing.
Yeah, that's what turns me off.
Like, it sucks because like, it's hard to tell sometimes, you know? But like, thankfully through touring and just getting out there, we've met a lot of really cool people in bands.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have expected them to kind of like give us a shoulder or something, but for the most part, people that we've had the chance to interact with have been really fucking cool. Again,
it's kind of,
there are exceptions, but like, you know, it's refreshing to kind of be like, okay, so a lot of these people
are really about their shit.
Are really like, you know, down and they know their shit and they're just trying to play music and they're not gonna fucking snub me because I don't have 1 million followers or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so
or because you have a Deftones tattoo on your face. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like they look at you like, oh, this kid's in a hardcore band, but he fucking loves Deftones. It's like, okay.
No, he just likes horses a lot.
yeah. It's like, and it's funny. You're the second person with that on his face because Hunter has that too. I fucking love it. It's great, man.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's kind of like I kind of feel like dudes would like, maybe, I don't know if it's happened, but people would look at your band like, oh, well, since, you know, the front man has fucking the Deftones thing on him, like, they're not hardcore. And it's like, okay. Like, I'm probably done more.
Kidding me? He's got Jane Doe on his arm, right?
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say
more
that.
devotion than most, right? Yeah.
We've had to sort of come to terms with the fact that if a hardcore kid were to listen to us, it would be because someone else showed them. I don't think hardcore kids are going to go and click on our shit. You know what I mean? And that was kind of a bittersweet thing for us because, like, we've been playing hardcore since we were, what, 13, 14? Yeah. So it sucks that, like, in order to be like, all right, to really do what we set out to do and make, just make what we want to make, fuck everything else, you kind of have to accept that. But, like, it's funny that you say that because not even, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, if I went to a show in a Korn shirt, which I did, everyone there would be just clowning on me the whole night. From the moment I set foot at the venue till I left, jokes, which is fine. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy that now you got some of those dudes who are all for the retweets and they're wearing a Slipknot shirt in their hardcore band. And I'm just like,
yeah,
it's hard because I'm like, that's cool because now there is almost a subgroup that will listen to Purity because nu metal's okay now, but it's also like, man, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah. You're happy for it, but at the same time, it's like, ugh, I can see through you, right? And those are the fans that when the next big thing comes, they grow their hair long, it's a battle vest, and they hop onto something else. And it's like, you know, you can see it coming a mile away. And it's, you know, Tim and I always joke about, you know, that was the best thing about nu metal making a quasi revival is you're putting some fun back into it, you know, right? Yeah. I mean, like sometimes the extreme music, it gets a little too self-serious. You know, I mean, now there's always going to be a place for bands like that. You know, bands like Full of Hell, bands like The Body, bands like Primitive Man, which makes me just want to kill myself, right? But like, there's always going to be a place for that. But at the other time, there needs to be like some of the irreverence that Limp Bizkit had, or like just the balls to the wall insanity that a Slipknot had, right? And
that's what I love about it is like, for the most part, our aesthetic and like our creative choices are very self-serious. You know what I mean? It's very like, I don't know, brooding and whatever. But then you listen to it and like, I'll rap on a verse. I'll you know, I'll throw in a chorus that's catchy or whatever. And like, there'll be like some bounce riffs that you can like have fun with. So I've always liked that dichotomy, which you don't really get with certain hardcore bands or other bands or metal or whatever. But that's what's kind of cool about, like you said, what we're doing is like, I love Full of Hell. I love The Body and that shit. I really like a lot of music that tends to take itself too seriously. I really love that shit. But it is cool to see bands kind of like, well, fuck it, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't mean, and I don't mean too seriously, is in the sense of like it's kind of like unserious. You know what I mean? Like they take themselves so serious that you're like, oh, really? Like I think there is an emotional a visceralness to The Body that it takes you mentally to a place that you can tell that there are some, like Linguda Ignota, right? There are some things that these artists are trying to work out that, again, your lizard brain appreciates it because it is coming from a place of honest, raw, emotional honesty.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess like bands that, you know, they get, I maybe take themselves too serious or maybe wrong to screw. Maybe bands that believe their own press too much.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, we booked this and now we booked this. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I 100%.
Let's have a little fun here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, granted, I don't think Limp Bizkit gets away in 2021 with what they got away with in 99, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? There was a little bit of fun irreverence there that.
Yeah. And that's it, even though like the small things, like if you're going on tour, you're going on tour to have fun, you know? And so some people are like, no, it's super serious. Really? You know? And like, yeah, you have to be responsible. You have to like take care of your shit. But like, dude, you're on the road playing music with all your friends.
Yeah.
Like, that's the coolest thing you can do, it's supposed to be fun. So I totally get what you mean.
We're still a super DIY band at heart. We fucking book all our own shit. We write all our own shit. We record all our own fucking demos. We have our like close friends that like will do fucking videos for us or recordings and shit like that. We have our circle. We have our team help us with everything,
And that I would
No
probably argue
handouts.
that helps you succeed because you build those like what amounts to familial bonds, right? Like you build your own tribe, right? That you lean on and you all lean on each other, and that elevates all of you as a whole, as opposed to going at it alone. In like the old days, it's it really was you were at the mercy of the market and just who happened to catch you at a certain time and who happened to book you to open, and
and that having that mindset has finally given us an opportunity to like start making steps upward, So,
have you guys
cool.
started writing anything new yet?
We started pre-production. We're trying to flesh out a full length. So,
Oh, okay, nice.
But we're still in the very early stages of that. We have some more coming with Animus, and I mentioned it before on the Decibel interview, but we are doing a kind of a deluxe version with a bunch of remixes on it. So, and then we have some other stuff coming. Okay. So,
I was just gonna say, Jay, you're gonna be in love because he loves remix records.
Oh, for whatever reason, I love. Maybe this is the old industrial guy in me, right? But I love remixes. I really think that you can take an original song and do something completely new with it in a remix to make it completely fresh. And still have that nod. I mean, you look at some of the remixes that I started out as a Nine Inch Nails fan, right? That was the second band that I really got into was Nine Inch Nails. And he is like, I think of remixes almost like, to use like a comparison to technology, you're almost disrupting your own market, right? By going in and trying to do something completely different with what you've got originally. And I just think that, some of those old Nine Inch Nails remixes, some of the KMFDM remixes that they've done, right? The bands went back to the well and kind of self-butchered their own stuff, but they made it so awesome.
Yeah. And Trent is one of my favorite musicians of all time. I think he's an absolute genius.
Oh, he is a genius.
Definitely. So
it's funny because I'd always wanted to do something like that, but I was like just sitting at home and I was listening. I don't know if you guys know that there's a Perfect Circle remix record that came out right before or after 13th Step. And I was listening to that. I was like, man, I'm going to just reach out to some people and see what we can do. And that kind of birthed it.
Yeah, I think you'll like the remix record. Some of the things our friends have done with some of the songs are insane.
Jordan from Zone Zero did.
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, are we allowed to say that? But okay, because I remember him telling me he was working on something. He's like, you and Jay are gonna love, and then I pretty much figured it was that because when we told him we had you guys coming on, he was like, oh, all right, and then I just put two and two together. So
yeah.
I am for whatever reason I'm a big fan of remixes. The just released Perturbator has a new album coming out, and he just released the Author and Punisher remix of his song where it sounds completely different. Oh, he is. Did you by the way, did you catch that tour? Maybe it was The Body and Uniform doing the joint set, and then Author and Punisher was opening. I caught it at there's a venue in Philly. It used to be a Headstone and Mausoleum showroom in Philly, right? So like it's this tiny place. It's real. It's all concrete. And now it's like it's a show space / David Lynch museum. So it gets really weird.
That's awesome.
But Tristan was up on stage and it was just like, I stood there with my mouth open. Like,
oh yeah.
Holy shit.
I had a friend in Florida who went, she sent me some videos.
Yeah, he is talented. And it's something else. But yeah, even, I mean, the Zayo remix album that came out not so long ago was great. Timo was joking, our intro is from the Fear Factory remix, right? Like, I mean, and again, they were one of those first bands who they had an industrial electronic leaning, but then they did a full remix album where they sent it out and said, hey, come back and tell me what you do. And no two of those songs sound alike, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
When are you expecting the re-release?
So I don't know what we're allowed to say, but we're working.
Yeah, don't say anything then if you can't. Don't worry about it.
Can we say this 2021? Can we say 2021?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And we're working with some people besides just ourselves. So
maybe a little less DIY.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask what song Jordan did though?
He did 2.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
Mirrors and Serpentine.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Guy's a workhorse. He
I
really
know,
is
man.
a workhorse.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah. He initially only did 1, and then we had another guy who was supposed to do a different song fall through, and it was maybe a month later, and I texted him. I was like, "Hey man, that last one was really cool. We got someone fall through on this one. Would you be up for it?" He was like, "Dude, fuck it." And within like a week, he had it done.
God damn, dude. Where do people find the time?
That's awesome.
It is.
So, we started the show talking about Vegas and things starting to open back up. And any designs on you think you guys are going to be able to hit the road this year? Or is it really looking like more in 2022? What are your thoughts?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, looks like Vegas. We'll probably have shows near the end of the year. We're already booking some stuff with some of our other projects, but as for Purity, we don't know too much yet. Looks like full touring, it'll have to depend on the rest of the country.
Yeah. I know that a band that we're friends with has a pretty hefty tour lined up for late this year, and so I wouldn't say definitively no, but we're small enough that we kind of have to wait and see what a band more weight does and how that goes for them before we can really get an idea of how we
see if there's an appetite in the market and people are going to come out, right? Because you don't want to be the first one at the gate playing empty rooms and then it'll just dishearten you.
Yeah.
Especially because thankfully we've gotten a lot of traction this year, but I don't think we've gotten enough to really be able to be like, well, fuck it, we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I definitely think the word on Purity is out there because I've been seeing it. People have been talking about it a lot. So
that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, I interview a lot of people. Well, me and Jay do, and a lot of people do talk about the band. So
that's sick.
That's
awesome. Good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to get out to shows again. I'm like, before you joined Tim, we were talking about the whole the Madball show and all the hijinks around it, but we were just talking about how the videos just looked unreal. Like, Madball was
people were, it was finally happening again. For them.
Right. I mean, like the joy that comes at. Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, do you? I mean, what the fuck? Were we supposed to stay inside all day or every day for the rest of our lives? Fuck that, man.
Yeah. Do your thing.
Yeah. Wear a mask or don't. I don't give a fuck at this point. I've already had this shit. I don't even care anymore. Whatever, dude.
Dude, it's crazy. I don't know. I was talking to him about it. I don't know how I went the whole thing without getting it.
That's good.
I mean, and I was like, man, I get sick usually I get sick all the fucking time. Right?
And you would think being out in Vegas where it's steaming fucking hot, man, you would get it somewhere in a hotter climate,
Yeah. No, we lucked out. I don't know whether it's Vegas mandate or Nevada mandate, but it's super easy to get a vaccination here. So us and all of our boys are vaxxed. We're ready for fucking shows to come back. It's just, it's unfortunate it's not, it's widespread. But
what I always wonder too, and I never got a chance to ask a band from Vegas this, but that whole stigma where if you're from Norway or Finland where it's fucking freezing all the time, your music is always visceral and just fucking angry because it's so cold and you're just done with it. But then you take it to the other climate where it's burning fucking hot all the time. Does that contribute to the music you write? Because you're just I don't know. It's a weird question, but take Mayhem, for instance. Back in the day, they always talked about it's cold and the moon shit. But then
the freezing moon.
Yeah, and then it's in Vegas, it's just you're sweating to fucking death all the time. It's
sucks.
Yeah, that has to contribute to the anger in some of the music sometimes.
And definitely most of these songs were written in the middle of the fucking summer,
dude, writing in a hot as fuck room with other dudes in a tiny space in summer in Las Vegas.
So even with air on, it's still 100 degrees. Outside, it's almost 130.
And you're just dude, can you just stop breathing for a minute? I can't. I fucking can't deal with it.
Yeah.
It's you walk outside and your breath's just taken away instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
gotta
like sometimes it gets hot enough to where you walk outside, it's like a wall.
Yeah, it's desert rat shit. Like we're just fucking. You just deal with it.
Yeah, you get used to it. Yeah,
Dude, when it's so hot that the planes can't take off, it's like, man, I would just be rethinking my entire existence at that juncture. I'm like, what am I doing here?
I don't see it's. Yeah, I don't like summer. I don't like going outside in summer.
I'm also not trying to shovel snow half the year.
dude,
I'll
we
sell
got
some
killed this year too.
Oh, come
Like,
on. We got like
killed.
one storm, Tim.
Get the fuck
Jesus.
out of here. We got 14 of them in a
Oh my
row.
God. I'd
Dude, it
be
was
remiss
awful.
if I didn't mention Roseblood. Speaking of Jersey, so.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they've been
Great
quiet for a bit. I hope they're working on something.
Oh, they are. Brad just texted me recently, and I'm really excited about what they're doing.
Good. Yeah, I like that last stuff they did. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad's an amazing dude. I've known him for a really long time. Genuinely such a great guy. But yeah, them and Tourniquet from Jersey. If I didn't mention that, I would be so mad at myself.
Speaking of Tourniquet, I remember we had them on a while ago, long time ago, and then like right after that whole fiasco happened with like the guitar thing. Like, I guess I forget what his name is. Fink. Yeah, he like didn't he like throw his guitar and it hit somebody or something?
Yeah.
I just remember that, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Hey, it's free publicity. Free publicity.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, and then you have the people like, "You're gonna take that interview down, right?" I'm like, "No, why the fuck would I do that?"
I didn't
I know,
do it.
like, get over it, Jesus Christ.
That's those kids who don't understand like what the scene is going out to shows, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I got hit in the face. I'm going to sue. I'm like, are you kidding me? The first time I saw Hatebreed, somebody knocked my earrings out. I got punched in the face so hard.
Dude, first time I saw Hatebreed, I was 13. Someone chucked a full beer can at my head. Hard. It was fucked up.
Now, I'm not saying we need to bring back the violence, but maybe if we brought back the violence, it would be a little different. I don't know.
Didn't hurt a little bit, you know?
Yo, at This Is Hardcore, well, One King downplayed, fucking what's his name threw a water bottle hard as shit. It hit me so hard in the chest, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that fucking hurt. Dude.
Was it Rob?
It was Rob. Yeah, he
he's
didn't mean to
also
throw it at me.
But he's a power lifter, right?
Yeah,
so that
like-
thing's coming out with some heat.
I don't know why he threw, but that shit hit me so hard, and I was just like, God damn it! Took my breath away, man.
Yeah.
But I didn't go up there and fucking sue the guy. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Like, get over it.
Yeah. It's part and parcel, right? It's part and parcel of going.
Yeah.
You know that's an expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roseblood was on that comp that I sent to you, Tim. When Lovers Quarrel that came out last year. That was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
I picked up 3/4 of the bands on that thing, like from some label, I think in like Scotland or something. Kind of out of the way, but man, there was some really good shit on there.
Your bank account had $21 purchases on it.
The wife, she's like, what is this band camp? You're killing me here. I'm like, stop looking. If you're gonna complain, stop looking.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
You know, I wanted to ask too before I forgot. Do you guys have like a merch store right now?
Not right now. We did a pre-order thing when the record was coming out. We actually just got those in. I have to ship them all this week.
Okay.
But we'll probably do something
with the remix,
with the reissue.
Okay.
So.
Dude, please do some sweatshirts for the cold kids in the north.
You know what's funny is we just did a bunch of hoodies.
Yeah.
And now
dude.
it's hot as fuck over here.
Well, listen, link me to where I can buy one because I will be grabbing one.
Tim is like, we always find these bands from hot climates, and he says, "Yo, can you do hoodies?" And they always kind of look at him like, "Yo, it's fucking 90 degrees here, dude. I'm not doing I'm not trying on a hoodie."
We've literally never done hoodies before. I guess
we started doing hoodies because I had to put my foot down. For the longest time, Jett was like, "Don't do hoodies, man. We're in Vegas." I was like, "We can ship them, man."
Exactly.
And I love hoodies.
We've done a lot
of the hoodie guy. And so after, I think it was our tour with Silenus, I was like, "We're doing a hoodie." He's like, "I don't know, man." I was like, "Dude, we're doing a hoodie."
We did 2 hoodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we did one. Another guy who has a smaller label called Suplex.
Okay.
And he was like, he's in Jersey too, actually. And he was like, "Yo, let me do some hoodies for you guys." So he dropped us off a little extra from his site. But yeah, we did it. We did our own, and that was the first time we did it in fucking 2019.
Oh, okay. Damn. So they're long gone. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have any actual stock right now.
Yeah. Well, please let me know if you do.
Yeah, when you restock, let Tim know.
Yeah. My house is freezing in July. It's freezing in fucking November. So I'm always wearing them. Like I'm kind of cold right now because our air has been on because it's, we went from 60 to fucking 85 here in one day. So
I'm sweating. It's so hot here.
What's your size, can't even imagine. XL.
Cool. I'll take a look at what we have.
Yeah, let me know and I'll PayPal to you.
Cool.
Or whatever, Cash App, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
Doesn't
the
matter
New
to
Breed
me.
merch swap coming soon. On a future episode, right? Yeah, we that's another thing that was fun, not funnily and not surprisingly impacted by the whole world shutting down was t-shirt stock. A lot of the printers were running out of stock. They were having trouble getting their hands on like a standard black tee. Like you wouldn't think, but then you think about it, and you're like, well, yeah, I guess it does make sense if all the looms are shut down, and it's like, oh, well, now I kind of get it.
So many things I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, so many stupid little things. You're like, why does this have stock? Oh yeah.
It was funny too. Like I was telling Jay, like when he was trying to get a hold of you guys, I'm like, yeah, I was scrolling through my Facebook and I seen someone put a Purity post up, and I click on it, and I'm like, wait a minute, fucking dude looks familiar. I'm like, he's on my friends list, and it was fucking AJ. Remember, I messaged you and I messaged you and I was like, dude, I didn't even know that was you for like a year.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, did you talk to the Purity guys? I'm like, yeah, they're coming on. He goes, I'm actually Facebook friends with AJ. I'm like, Tim, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, I didn't even know for like the longest time.
Well, because when we put out our first EP, I went on Ill Breed.
Oh, Ill Street, yeah.
Oh, Ill Street, sorry,
yeah. No, that's all right. Yeah, it was just funny because I was like, oh, I could have just messaged him. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no.
That's funny.
Yeah, I remember that too. I think I like commented on your thing or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, speaking of Ill Street, I'll have to get you guys on that too one of these days.
Dude, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that, and we'll talk some hardcore.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So let's talk new metal. If you guys had a choice of a new metal band taking you out as an opener, and anybody, right? So say somebody's doing a reunion tour, right? Who would you pick? Who would you want to open?
I was literally just going to ask this question.
I'll let him go first.
I think I'm picking Chevelle.
Dude, love that band.
I don't know if we'd be lower.
No.
I was not expecting that.
I was not expecting that either.
Their new record is so fucking good.
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
It's probably one of their best records.
I was really, really happy with it. Because, the singles were great. And I like the day it came out, I threw it on at work. And I was like, wow. Like front to back, great record.
Really good.
I'd honestly have to say Korn just because I don't think anything would be more monumental than that. You know what I mean? I think their last record was actually really good. I think they've had a pretty steady career of making mostly good music. You know what I mean? Every band that long of being a band, you have your hills and valleys, but I think they have more hits than misses, in my opinion. And they're just like the new metal band. You know what I mean?
Yep. They're the one who started it all.
A huge deal.
And it's funny you bring the new record up too, because fucking Adam from Orthodox was like, "Oh, you guys got to listen to it. It's really good." And I'm like, "Eh." I put it on at work, and I was like, "Damn, he's fucking right. This record is really good."
I was that they put out Cold first, and that's one of the only songs on the record I'm kind of lukewarm about. So I was like, I don't know about this, man. Especially because I really didn't care for the last one or the one before that. But yeah, really, really good record.
Was that this year? The new Korn record, was it this year?
I think it was the end of 2020.
Yeah, it was last year.
Because Tim and I talked about that when we did the best of 2020 on Ill Street. I said, if you had told Jay in 1999 that in 2020 both the Deftones and Marilyn Manson are going to put out two of the better records of their career, I would have been like, get the fuck out of here. 20 years.
That's interesting you say that. I was not a fan of that last Deftones record.
The newest one?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, hold on, Tim.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Did you like the one before? Did you like Gore?
I liked Gore. Yeah.
Hated Gore.
To this day, the only one that I'm not a fan of is Ohms.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. I think I respect it because I know that they're at this point, what it boils down to is what influences them to make music is so far removed from shit that I gravitate towards. Okay. So like I respect that they're doing wholly what they want to make. It's just like so little of that appeals to me that I was kind of like, damn,
Even tracks like Eurytania or whatever it's called, and Ceremony, like them songs are classic Deftones.
Huh.
Dude,
I will
please
say
go
that
back
Manson
and
record is
listen to
awesome.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean,
great record.
It's like a Bowie homage, and I'm a huge Bowie fan. So I was
yeah,
like, dude,
he
love
yep,
that.
he took his Bowie years, his Nothing Records years, he put it in a blender, and he said, "All right, I'm gonna put the Spooky Kids stamp on it." And
Yeah.
I know I threw it on Spotify just on a whim, and 3 songs in, I kept stopping my work and looking at my speaker like, holy
Yeah.
shit, wow! I
Yeah.
mean, I'm really impressed here.
Are
Yeah,
you guys
'cause, like-
fans of Diamond Eyes and Koi though?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, great records.
I was about to say, please
Fucking
don't. say
riffers
it.
on those ones.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, them records are fucking masterpieces.
Undeniable, yeah. I think Koi gets slept on because Diamond Eyes was huge for whatever reason when it came out. It was massive.
Yeah,
And then a lot of people kind of slept on Koi, but I think that's also a great record.
and I'm assuming White Pony's your favorite.
No, he just likes horses.
He doesn't get tired of it.
No one talks about the self-titled record either. That
Oh,
drives me nuts.
Oh,
Dude,
I
I
love
like
it.
that.
Dude.
I think the what is it, Hole in the Earth, the opening track of Saturday Night Wrist.
Yeah,
Amazing song.
I think that's a great
Great.
song. I mean, granted, though, Chino talks about how it was tough for them to make and all that sort of stuff, but
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah,
a great
that's another
song.
thing that layer underneath is just even better. I think it's funny because the first time I heard Hexagram when I was a kid, I got like real emotional about it. So I have like a whole thing with the self-titled record. You know what I mean?
It's dark. See, I like music that's really dark, and that record just hits it for me, man. Just every song is just dark, and it just feels like when Chino and them were just like, all right, like the drugs got to go away, but we're gonna still write this record under the influence, kind of thing. Yeah. That's why I like Filth Pig so much, because when you read the book and he says, I don't even remember recording that record, it's kind of like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We can kind of tell how we kind of tell.
It's true, man. It's funny because a lot of my favorite artists after the sobriety point is when I'm like,
dude, and I I always say this, I hate to be like pro drug use because I don't use drugs, obviously. I mean, I don't use drugs, but like even like the Downward Spiral and Antichrist Superstar, the records are just laden with drug use, and they're the best records they have, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude. Dude, Disembodied.
Dude.
For me,
Alice in
fucking
Chains.
Leftover Crack. Like,
fuck yeah,
like
dude. Leftover Crack is shit.
Like Dystopia, like so many bands, like unfortunately, Ministry, are just wrote the best shit when they're fucked up on the worst shit.
They did. I mean, you can't deny it at all. And it's great hearing a straight edge guy say that. It's because, like,
dude,
it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, some people just take it to the point where they're like, well, I can't even listen to it. It's like, come on.
Not even just music though. Like, I'm a big Stephen King fan, and when he got clean, his shit totally shifted. And it was like,
did it really? Oh, he was a very big coke.
He was whacked out of his mind. Like the stories behind that movie, Maximum Overdrive, which is fucking terrible. He was director, and he doesn't even remember directing it. He didn't even know what the fuck was going on. Like everything he wrote up until Tommy Knockers was great. And then he got sober, and his stuff totally changed. And just now he's starting to get back close to where he used to be. But I think his son has actually taken his mantle and run with it. Like Joe Hill's stuff is wild.
Yeah, he's really impressive. I've only read Nosferatu, but I really liked it. I haven't read any of Joe Hill's other stuff.
The what's the one? The Fireman. The Fireman was really good, but it's like 900 pages. The movie for Horns, I got to tell you, AJ, with
that movie's great with Daniel Radcliffe.
First of all, I cried at the end. And I'm like, why am I crying? But like when he's sitting there and he has all these people, like he can force them to tell the truth. It was unreal. Like I thought it was a really well done movie.
It was, yeah. And I'm a big proponent of reading the whatever before the movie, but I didn't know it was a book. And I watched it, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've been like, I should read that. And I just never have.
Yeah, I love the movie so much. I'm like, you know what? I kind of don't want to go the other way because I'm like you. Like I want to read it first.
Yeah.
I'll never forget reading Fight Club, and you get to that point where you're like, well, what the shit? And then you're like back like 200 pages. Like, wait a minute, I no, there's no way. I kind of no. And then you're like, oh wow, yeah, it's
That was like one of the first books as a kid that I was like, oh, I'm fucking so smart, dude, because I get it, you know.
Did you guys watch The Stand?
I haven't yet.
No, is it any good?
Not really.
I'll watch it.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
you might like
endorsement.
it, but I kind of feel like it was one of them first shows that was hitting off of like the whole COVID thing. Not that it's about COVID, but it's like, the disease that's getting everybody kind of thing. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, we're gonna hit on this real quick, but it was just real stale to me. So I mean, you guys might.
But I mean, the book is 30, 40 years old, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
enormous.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's 1,800 pages unabridged. Yeah, you can kill somebody with that
shit.
thing if you throw it hard enough. Like Rob Fusco throws that at you, Tim, off stage when Most Precious Blood is playing. That'll kill you.
Yeah, right. You hit the head with that, you're done.
It's interesting you mention that though, because like there's been kind of a Stephen King resurgence in film. Like the It movies were pretty good.
Yeah, they were.
Dark Tower was pretty bad, but apparently Doctor Sleep was good. I haven't seen that. You saw that?
Yeah, it was good.
You didn't like it?
I mean, it was. I mean, you could. It's. I read
like
Doctor
William
Sleep when it
Kubrick.
came out, and I likened it to the Lost World, the Jurassic Park movie, where you could tell it was written with a movie in mind.
Yeah.
And did you get that, Jet? Like when you watched it, you're like, yeah, this is definitely. I can see where they're leaning in.
It's
for
definitely
a
like
sequel.
plot point.
Yeah.
And and the fact that obviously it's not fucking Stephen King, it's not The Shining, but it is.
You're talking about Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. Sorry, Stanley Kubrick, because I feel like the cinematography, you just expect that already.
Yeah.
The sequel, even though obviously it's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the story, I never read the book. I've heard mixed reviews on the book. I've heard people really like it, but
I've heard,
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was obviously written as it was like when Thomas Harris did Hannibal, right? Which then got turned into a movie real quick after the success of Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. It's like, you could tell they're writing a book that's obviously 3/5 of a screenplay, it won't have to be changed much. And it's like, it's not the same. Yeah. It's like you're never going to have that fire that you're going to have like on your first album, right? Your first book, you're never going to have that fire where you're like hungry and it's like, shit.
Plus, he just had so many fucking weird, outlandish ideas at the time. You know what I mean? He built such a huge catalog of things that did that well that I'd be amazed if every single one he didn't have a miss. But like, I thought it was cool that he wrote it with his son.
Yeah. All right, Tim. What else do we have?
I was just going to ask about, I mean, I already did ask about if you guys are writing new stuff, but I wanted to ask real quick about like, what do you guys think of the whole streaming show thing? Like, is that something you guys would think of doing? Like maybe?
Like a live set? Like
a live stream. Yeah.
I'm on the fence. Like I said before, our other guitar player is really pushing for it. I don't really want to. I just feel like it's really hard to do it in a way that is worth it.
Yeah, like you don't want to be the band that just puts up the digital camera and streams it. Cause I think a lot of bands too, in like your predicament where you haven't been able to play the songs live yet, it's kind of like you want to actually get out in an actual venue and showcase them songs.
Yeah. Like I'm really excited to see the first reaction.
Yeah, there you go.
We played these songs once live.
Oh, okay.
We didn't play all of them.
Say that. That's right.
We didn't play all of them.
And this was literally right when we got back from recording them.
So no one had heard them except for us. Okay. So we did get a good response, but like people were just like, "Oh, it's a cool new song," So I'm really excited to see what people think in front of me when they hear shit and they know it,
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Maybe.
What's that?
It's a maybe leaning towards no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just figured I'd ask.
And let's be honest here, like the last person killed when the war is declared over. Nobody wants to be the last band to put out a streaming set, right? When like shows open up the next week, right? It's like, well, we kind of just shut ourselves in the foot on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think on that note, Jay, we can wrap it up, right?
Awesome. So, on behalf of Tim, myself, AJ, Jett, we want to thank you guys for taking time out of your evening. We really appreciate it. We look forward to having you on again. For AJ, Jett, myself, and Tim, we want to thank all of you listeners for once again tuning in. Email us at newbreed Podcast. Tim, is it all one word?
Yes, sir.
Under at gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at newbreed_podcast. We have a Facebook group that's had a whole shit ton of people joining lately, but Tim and I are actually convinced they're looking for New Breed, the Christian Southern rapper, as opposed to podcast, which lends itself to some interesting conversations. Not to be discriminatory. We welcome everyone. And you can also find us bouncing around on r/new metal. Tim and I have tried to keep active there as well. So once again, we want to thank AJ and Jett for joining us. And until next time, it's a New Breed podcast saying, see you later.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys.